I got the notification, so you know it's real.
Right. Hello. I don't want to do
Gotta be
that too
careful.
high, by
I
the
know
way.
gotta be careful now. Whoa.
Did you like? I started to go like this, and I was like, take it down, take it down,
Yeah,
take it down, take it down.
yeah. We
Yeah.
we we don't need any more. It's the one piece of social engagement. I'm always kind of like, I don't really know how I feel about that.
Hey, listen. I've been known to call the other team, Hitler supporters. I'm not going to do that here, but I've been known to do it. I don't want to ruin anything we might have connected or coming down the pipe from a sponsor or anything, so we're not going to do that on this chat.
Yes. Glad we got that out of the way
Yeah,
early,
I'm not doing
established.
that.
Nope, not today, folks.
uh, as Presley says, keep the main thing the main thing. We're just going to do that. Rocking and a rolling.
Yeah, thank you for carrying us here. I'm trying to get everything spell checked. This is nerve-wracking trying to tweet and do a show at the same time while you're live, especially
Well,
when
I don't even know
I'm
how to
very
work a
much.
laptop, so
Yeah, I'm known to constantly leave like words out and all of that
hmm
when I am trying to tweet.
yeah, that
Okay,
hat's nice, man. Lord
thank
have
you,
mercy.
thank
That's
you.
the one
And
you
you
wore
can't see
that,
it, but
and
I'm rocking the t-shirt hooligan, baby.
oh,
Let's go, man.
hey, let's
This is one of
go.
my this is one of my favorites. Went from one t-shirt hooligan piece of merch to another. I had the Pink Seeds hoodie on before this, so
Right. This is also available at T-shirt Hooligan. Not here to plug them either, whoever they may be.
well, we don't know.
We don't know. Somebody runs that, and they gave me this, so I don't know.
All right,
Yeah,
last bit here, and then we will get started. I promise this is not just us cracking not funny jokes,
yeah, not at
talking
all.
about our
Oh,
merch. I promise.
dude, also this. I found this the other day.
Oh man,
Yeah, I found that in my closet. I was going through some stuff. I'm trying to like switch over seasons. You know what I mean? Like I'm
yeah,
I'm that guy that does that. I'll put up all my trunks, all my cutoffs, all my tank tops. I don't have a gym
yeah,
membership, so don't need that. Uh,
right.
so and then switching into hoodies. Because it's time. It's cold as hell. It's gonna snow tomorrow or something like that. So
It's yeah, kind of slightly there earlier.
yeah,
Man, we went straight from like the heat of summer into the absolute cold of winter, and
yeah,
there's your weather talk for the night. We've gotten
right.
all of our obligatory small talk out of the way early
That's right.
here. Well, let's go ahead and we'll dive into it. We are about 3 minutes in,
Right.
right on the mark here. Jacob Lane, Alan Thomas. It's been a long time since I've sat in this seat here on Starting 502 Podcast, but excited to be
Yeah.
back talking basketball as we transition very quickly into the meat of the basketball season for Louisville, facing Kentucky here in just 2 nights at the KFCM Center on Tuesday night, November 11th, as we
Yep.
have always said. I love my basketball before my football, right?
Right.
Thomas,
Yeah.
man, it's great to see you. That beard is popping tonight. Please give me the rundown of what product we're using these days.
I
People need to
well,
know.
what's funny is I don't really use anything with it um, on most days because what helps it is the gray hairs when they come in. When the gray hairs come in, the gray hairs grow like this. And so like my theory is like I have my hair went from brown to red to gray. Like that's been the gradual throughout my life of facial hair. Anyway, just that's the fun part, right? But so like now the red hairs kind of intertwine with the straight ones. The red hairs are very curly, and so I think they all just kind of like work together to push it out. And so like when I cut it, all I do is throw it out and then just shape it. It's easy that way. But if I really want to throw it out, like Halloween, I was Paul Bunyan. Um, it lame for a person with a beard, right? Very creative, just be Paul Bunyan, a
Yeah,
lumberjack,
right.
right? But like I used just it's some kind of I couldn't tell you the brand, Maybe if that brand found this podcast, we could plug that brand on this podcast,
That's
and I
right.
could just I could put the beard oil in my beard on the podcast.
That is
But
what the
like,
people need. It's not even what the people want, man. It's what the people need right there.
yeah,
It's just you putting beard product in on live on the show.
you
That's what we
talk and
need.
I'll just go like this the whole time.
Right. It's
Yeah,
therapeutic, man. Well,
yeah.
welcome in to Starting 502 Podcast on
hmm
the State of Louisville Podcast Network. As I mentioned, I'm Jacob Lane. This is Alan Thomas. You can find us at the Twitter handles right here below And if you're joining us for the first time, whether it be on Twitter or on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. There is a variety of faces that you will see in these seats over the course of the next several months of the season, including myself and Alan. But excited to jump on here and talk Louisville basketball, because this is a big week, as we mentioned, as we head into UK week. Go ahead and subscribe right here on YouTube if you're watching us there, the State of Louisville YouTube channel, or follow us on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts from. We can't thank you all enough for supporting us here on the State of Louisville Podcast Network. And Alan, man, no shortage of basketball to talk about. It's wild to be on a Friday night preparing for Louisville football on a Saturday, and what do I get to have the sweet treat of it is turning on basketball and seeing North Carolina and Kansas engaged in a battle on a Friday night. It truly has just gone right into hoop season. And for Louisville, sitting at 2-0, coming off of a win over Jackson State, they'll get exactly what Pat Kelsey said, right? We want to play the best of the best. We're not dodging smoke. Move this game up from December, early, right before New Year, to pre-Thanksgiving. And this is a true testament to where we're going to find out what these teams are, where they're at. Both are dealing with injuries, both trying to get everyone back to healthy. And we really won't know what either of these teams are truly until especially more on the UK side, until January, February. But here we are, Alan, in early November, and it is a battle of two top 15 teams, likely two top 10 teams when the rankings are released on Monday. And that's exciting. Basketball is so back, and we need this rivalry to go from just happening and existing to Louisville being an active participant, battling, being able to get victories. And I think, Alan, this is the year where we start to see the tides turn a little bit.
I think you're not the only one that feels that way. Namely, I think I'm not saying Pat Kelsey knows his team is better. I'm not saying he knows his roster is better. I'm not saying that. I don't think he's that type of coach. But I think from the get-go, when he went to schedule this game, it's probably not all his call, obviously, but I think when he did go to schedule it, he knew he would be at full strength for this game. He knew everybody on his roster, at least without a hiccup against SC State or Jackson State, or in one of the exhibitions, that he would be at full strength. I think that regardless if Kentucky was going to be at full strength or not, I felt like with this, early, you could set the tone with a win on Tuesday. And I think that he knew he was going to have a great shot. He could go out. The way that he wants to play is the way that he recruited guys to come in and play for him this year. And I think the roster, top to bottom, what we've seen is just there's part of the game that I've watched, the games. One of the games, part of it I wasn't able to watch. I was just listening, and it's a stark difference from years past when we had Kenny Payne, who I was one that supported. I'll be transparent about that. But listening to Paul, watching the games, the tone is different. It's it feels like they come down and make a shot every single time we have the ball. That's just, again, let's be fair about the competition we've had early, but Pat Kelsey, I think you and Pat are on the same wavelength as far as when this game was scheduled. I think he knew we could really, you could check a box. You get that win against Kentucky, he gets that monkey off his back, and there is one on his back. Even though it's year two, because when you sign up for this job, after everything, all the bullshit we've been through, you kind of put yourself right out front. I don't think he's afraid of that moment either.
Yeah. No, and there's certainly pressure on Pat Kelsey. The thing for this rivalry for so long has been, making it one of those games where you just have a bit of angst. You go into it with just kind of a disadvantage just because you're overhyped, you're overstimulated, you're coming into it kind of maybe not in the right mindset. And we've seen for years UK kind of take advantage of that and deploy a physical, rough you up early on to really test the mental fortitude of Louisville over the years. And we've seen Louisville teams not be able to handle that. And so this year, the pressure is on Pat Kelsey. The pressure is also on Mark Pope, certainly to continue in his winning ways, to prove that this rebuilt roster is as good as the price tag we've heard associated says it is. So there is certainly no shortage of storylines, and we're going to get into all of that here momentarily. First, I want to talk Jackson State, but before we do, I want to talk a little bit about what you can expect on Tuesday for the UK game in terms of starting 502 Podcast, the state of Louisville. We will be out live coming to you from Whiskey Row at Goodwood. We are super excited to team up with our friends at Surfside for the first rendition of the basketball side of State of Louisville Live. Myself, Presley Meyer, will be out there at 6 o'clock getting started live in the restaurant, but also on Twitter, on YouTube. They're breaking the show down pregame. And Alan, I think the other big announcement here we can kind of parlay into is this will become a mainstay. And I wish we had graphics and all of that. I got to be honest with you, man. The budget fell short. The time fell short, whatever you want to say. Didn't get to it, but we are extremely excited to keep the momentum of live shows rolling right into basketball season with an extended team here on Starting 502 Podcast. Coming to you as the State of Louisville Live. Myself, Alan, Presley Meyer, Dalton Pence, Roman Kelly, Matt Childress, and drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen, the big name, Reese Gaines. Reese Gaines will be joining us throughout the season as a analyst and commentator. Goodness gracious, get that word out of there. On the show, we are excited to have Reese back around Louisville basketball. It's certainly been a while, obviously TBT, but he has been off coaching, and we are extremely excited to bring him back into the fold talking Louisville basketball. So be sure to check us out throughout the year. We will be live on site most big games this year, a lot of the non-conference games, as well as the conference games. And when we're not, we will be hopefully for away games, out doing watch parties, all of that. So we're hopefully excited to be out and about in the community. We hope to have you all tune in and join us throughout the year. So big news, Alan. We're going to be, man, if 10-year-old me knew that he was going to be doing a live podcast with Reese Gaines at any point in his life, man, it would absolutely have been mind-boggling. And so now not only are we doing that, but we're going to be chopping it up like Tennessee game, chopping it up with this man. Some of the biggest games of Louisville, as well as Matt Childress, as well as Roman Kelly, as well as Dalton Pence. I mean, the names just keep coming, man. It's going to be an absolute great time this season. I'm stoked to be a part of the team.
Yeah, man. If 33-year-old me would have known I was going to be doing this at all, with you guys. I mean, let's start with, first and foremost, actually, and Jacob doesn't want me to get into this at all, but Jacob and Presley have a really cool story. They've known each other for a long time. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but they pretty much built State of Louisville brick by fucking brick. And you know what I'm saying? Just believed in the dream. I shout out to you. And everybody that's kind of been in your circle has kind of just been along for the ride. And we all just very, very supportive of each other. And, on social media and in real life, it's not just an act. So I think that is very special. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the guys you named, Matthew Childress, obviously our guy Roman, and Dalton Pence are all on the radio 5 days a week.
Literally, man.
And then you got Reese Gaines, and then I had pasta earlier today, so that's something cool about
right.
me.
Right, exactly, man.
So I'm super pumped. This is gonna be such a fun season. Any Louisville fan who's watching and Kentucky fan, you want to come rib with me and joke around, whatever, dude, come to the spot where we're doing this stuff and just kind of have a beer and we want crowd involvement. Let's do it up,
That's exactly right. So we're extremely excited to get out and about this year for basketball with Surfside. Be sure that if you're drinking, that a Surfside is in your hand, folks. That is accessible as can be these days. Any convenience store, liquor store, you're bound to find a Surfside. Certainly at a Louisville basketball game, you can see their branding right there, right off of 64 as you're going throughout the highway. That rainbow branding sticks out. So Surfside is teaming up with us to extend the coverage, get the team going, and we're extremely excited for the season here. So transitioning now out of that stuff, Alan, let's talk Louisville basketball against Jackson State. We certainly want to get the folks watching on Twitter and YouTube engaged in the show. You can do so in the chat room over on YouTube. We would encourage you to jump over there. We would love to hear your thoughts, X factors, storylines, things to watch, all of that. Who has more pressure on him? Is it Mark Pope or Pat Kelsey? All of that we're going to discuss coming up here in a few minutes. But let's spend just a few moments discussing Jackson State. And in full transparency, Alan, I didn't get to watch a second of this game, and I want you to know the level of heartbreak that it brought me. Throughout all of the years of Louisville basketball, the Chris Mack days, the Mike Pegues days, the Kenny Payne days, I don't care if it was on the ACC Network Extra. I don't care if it was on the CW, if it was on what would the old RSNs, Fox Sports South. Like, I would do
Yeah.
whatever. I would move heaven and earth to get to a Louisville basketball game. This was the first game I have missed in a long time because I simply exhausted all options and could not watch it on TV. I mean, I've started a free trial with Fubo TV at this point and Hulu just so I can find these damn games until YouTube TV gets this figured out. And it was disappointing. And I'm fearful for Tuesday. With everything going on, I'm pretty sure this game is on ESPN if I'm not mistaken, right? Is that the case, the Louisville UK game? I need to probably confirm that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, but anyways, we need to get this stuff figured out. So I didn't get to watch this game, but I followed along in the play-by-play and the stat broadcast. So I have a pretty good feeling of how this game went based off of just the back and forth. I'd say general takeaways, knowing I didn't watch much of this game. I've seen the highlights. My takeaways are going to be limited without much context in some ways. But what are your thoughts on this blowout 106-67 win with, let's see here what we have. Louisville's leading scorer being Ryan Conwell with 19 points. You had Mikel Brown Jr. with 18. Kenai Ruth with 16, Sonny Frew with the career high 12 points, and then guys kind of all over the place between that. You had a lot of guys score, a lot of guys play, blowout. What are your thoughts?
I'll give you one good and one concern. Following that, not going into Kentucky, just following that game, things that stood out. Right. I'll start with the good, just because I think better radio comes with the bad sometimes. Or better podcasting, whatever. So the good is something we all recognize, I think. And you can lump it in with shooting. You can lump it in with noticing that, like everybody's getting, comfortable with the spacing and things like that. Getting more liberal with their passing and things like that. Being getting outside the box, getting more creative in the offensive, not even offensive sets, just in the offensive read and react that they're doing. But I think team confidence is very high. I don't see this team slouch very much. I think the body language has always been really good. I think the Kansas game, and I've said this a few times on this podcast, I think the Kansas game was just a formula of Bill Self, one of the great teachers of the game, having a couple months to prepare for you and wanted to take away everything because he knew this would be everybody's first impression of Kansas, and he wanted it to be perfect. And that's just kind of, I think he kind of schooled Pat on that one. I think he, in practice, in team meetings, everything, he probably spent a little bit of time on Louisville, not every day, but at least, every couple days. He's just kind of, hey, Louisville's going to do this, take this away, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but let's, to that point, though, this is my first time talking about anything Louisville basketball this year, and I have certainly been paying attention to every game. It is not lost on me the fact that Kansas freshman Darren Peterson absolutely went off. If that does not happen to that extent in that game, the way that it does, that's a much more competitive game where we're not concerned, but our takeaway is still okay. Mikel Brown Jr. really struggled here, but damn, that's also probably a top 15 team, maybe the best team in the Big 12 or one of them at least. They certainly have a top 5, maybe the number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year. You certainly, fell short, but you feel a little bit better, right? But because he went off the way that he did and Mikel Brown Jr. struggled, it did feel like this juxtaposition of maybe Louisville's not as good as we thought. But to your point, they quickly rebounded from that, and we saw that might have just been the way that Bill Self played them and the fact that Peterson was just in his bag. I mean, absolutely in his bag.
Yeah. I think to your point, we can say that, but I'm gonna say it again. To your point, that Pat Kelsey, the way he just carries himself, the way he runs his program, you can't he said it before. They don't talk about the past. I'm sure they say hey, that was they joke with each other. Hey, that was a good pass you had or whatever. They're not going to dwell on. If that game ended up being like Jake mentioned one time, if it was a 25-point loss, what would we say at the water cooler the next day? And we were all I don't know, we'd be freaking out. But it started to get out of hand a little bit. and it didn't. I don't think Pat Kelsey would have talked about it if it was a 25-point loss. I just don't think he carries himself that way. And you see it, like you can see it with this team. And like I said, the way they carry themselves, body language, they're helpful of each other, supportive of each other. You don't see anybody out there looking selfish, trying to get their own. But like the only bad from Jackson State is just, I guess, like separation and shooting. And I don't know if it was just Jackson State had some guys that were pretty athletic. That's one thing that kind of jumped off about them. Just keep it on them. They're just guys, I guess, that have played together. And I mean, Devin Ree, who I thought might be a factor just because of the Yum Center curse of former players and the fact that he had like 19 the game before. And like, you know, like somebody pointed out, like he made a mistake early in the game and got taken out and didn't come back in. So, but and so
I mean, terrible. Yeah.
Jackson State's not loaded by any means, but I think they looked pretty comfortable out there shooting. And I mean, you know, going into several teams, just the way the game of basketball is played, like we're gonna have to do a better job of closing out. There's a certain way you close out. It's not just shuffling feet. You have to run up to that guy. Squatted, like it's a closeout is not running full speed. You know this from playing basketball. It's not running full speed and going and jumping, right? It's your butt's out and you're shuffling up and you're saying ball, shot, whatever. You know, like I know Pat Kelsey teaches that. I know he does, and you get it. It's supposed to like frazzle, you know, the shooter a little bit, but you stay shuffling in case they do a head fake or a shot fake, so you can stay defending. And I think our closeouts are just a little bit lazy across the board, not just on any one person.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point to bring up with this team. And one of the things that I thought last year late against both really good opponents and against maybe some of the lesser teams in the ACC was their ability to guard their leading scorer, their leading go-to guy, right? We saw it with Boston College last year, particularly with Donald Hand. I remember he went off against Louisville. We saw Jalen Lowe at times in the two games, which we'll get into him here in a minute, have his way, just depending on who was guarding him. You know, countless other ACC guards last year really at times was able to take advantage of either just the way Louisville guarded, one player in particular, really just depended. In this game was a little bit, you know, based off of what I can see and how the scoring breakdown went and really how the back and forth went was Louisville, I don't want to say struggle, but Louisville did show weaknesses with guarding Jamie Mitchell Jr., who finished the game with 21 points. He had 13 in the second half, showed it in both halves that he could really set the pace for Jackson State when they did start to score, which was much like in game one against South Carolina State, slow, right?
Yeah.
But Jamie Mitchell and Dorian McMillan both finished with 20 points, 20 or more points in this game. And while, again, Louisville outscored Jackson State in both quarters, and it's not something to be concerned about. If you substitute those two guys with Jalen Lowe and with Otega Owe or with, whoever you want, Jasper Johnson, whoever you want to throw in there. Again, we'll get into this in a minute. Does that then become a weakness of yours? And that's certainly something we're going to see this week, obviously with Louisville having to account for a lot of really good guards. But in this game, again, Louisville just put foot to ass. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Foot to ass. Yeah. I will say a couple of things that stood out to me was I loved the involvement of Sonata Frew early in this game, trying to find him again. He seems to be right now the favorite for if you're going for first bucket of the game bets as your guy, maybe in the UK game. He's, I believe, scored the first point. I keep track of this, weirdly enough. He scored not the first point in the South Carolina State, but the fourth point. Scored the first points of this game for Louisville. Had 12 points. Also had 5 rebounds. I did like to see him a little bit more involved offensively. They threw him a couple of lobs. He had a couple of layups around the rim. To be honest with you, I think he has been the thing that's been kind of most lacking so far with this Louisville team. And while I thought, again, he was aggressive here, there is a ways to go for him to get to the physicality and speed of the college basketball level. But I did love to see Mikael Brown Jr. specifically target him on a couple of lobs, really look for him in the pick and roll. I mean, when you talk about a European basketball player coming overseas to a college game, you would hope that at a minimum that they would bring you a lot of finesse or physicality, which I think both of our big guys there check very differently in how they play. But with Frew, I do want to see. I did want to see him more aggressive. I felt like game one, it was just kind of like ping pong, watching where the ball went, watching where how the game went. What
Mm-hmm.
did you think of Sonny Frew in this game and getting more minutes, more opportunity, or at least being more of a focal point with kind of where the ball went offensively with the guards, getting them involved?
Yeah. Um, with Sonny, and not just Sonny, but with Zugris, with not so much Khalifa. They don't really need him around the basket. I mean, not that he's not effective. He's 6'11", underneath the basket. Just he's just so great up top, being that tall, having that vision. And you need him out there more. Like in an offensive scheme. But I think in Isaac McNeely, somebody interviewed Isaac about just like how I think it might have been Paul Rogers or somebody pregame one of the games. And they were like, talking about offense. And of course, like I'm nerding out on this. I'm just like I'm all in it, like listening to hanging on every word, just trying to see like he's an experienced guard. Comes from he was recruited by a brilliant coach, who flaked out on the team, but that's beside the point. So like he's and now he's coming to play for another like offensive savant, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A guy that can just knows how to get light a fire under everybody offensively. One of the things that he said was they like to be creative, and they like to be creative with their big men, even if it's in small doses. Like he
Yeah.
said, they will do a pin down screen for a big man to come out. Like if a big man like screens down, they will screen for him to come back out just to get him moving. And I think like that may have been to try to get the European guys in more of the flow of the game, because that game's different over there. Like you don't
Right.
back down people, and I think that's why Frew fits so well in the Kelsey system. But I found myself like he's going in and out. Like he's letting people screen for him. Like he's comfortable moving around and stuff like that. He's taking somebody's coming around for a handoff. He hands it off instead of like sitting there like he doesn't know which way to go with it or what to do with the ball. And he's also getting more. I keep saying like comfortable, the comfortability. So maybe that's a tone. That's a tone for this. What I'm
Right.
talking about with the team this year is their comfortability around each other. But he's getting more comfortable drifting and hiding in the dunker spot, and I think that's how he found some success against Jackson State too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And there's certainly going to be a battle there of who can be the sneakiest dunker
Yeah,
between him and Malachi Moreno, who can just kind of like sneak behind a
yeah.
defense, being as tall as they are, and then show up for the lob. That'll
Mm-hmm.
be an interesting battle. But I agree. There's a comment here that we got over on the YouTube side. I'm going to put up on the screen here. I have terrible vision, so trying to see this stuff and run the show, it's confusing. But Frew getting better by better each game, going to be a stud. I would tend to agree with that. I think he's going to continue to get better. And
Yeah.
this game is going to be a test of the physicality of Brandon Garrison and, goodness gracious, the name is escaping me. The Alabama
Diabate.
transfer, Diabate.
Diabate.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
There's going to be a lot of physicality. Again, we'll get into that here momentarily. But I did like, again, just being aggressive, inserting himself in the offense. And inserting themselves in the offense can go a number of ways when you're talking about Louisville. The most overwhelming thing on this team so far is the sheer number of guys that are just absolute weapons, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever seen a Louisville team with this many dudes, like who can absolutely just take over games, can give you one night 25, 30 points, and the next game they might not have anything on the stat sheet that looks impressive, but that's because their teammate is now popping off and going for 25 or 30 points a game. Or in some games, you might have guys with 19, 18, 16, 12, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Like, I mean, that's the scoring log for Louisville basketball in the Jackson State game. It's been extremely impressive, the sheer number of guys involved. Ryan
Mm-hmm.
Conwell looks like an absolute go-to when you need a bucket, either put
Yeah.
the ball in his hands or in the 1-2 game between him and Mikael Brown Jr. Both of them seem unselfish, willing to give the ball up to whoever is hot. There's one thing that really stood out to me in this game about Mikael Brown Jr. that I'll circle back to, but Conwell finding his role. Adrian Woolley, while again not impressive in the stat sheet, the dunks look like, I mean, out of a video game. What we've seen, Jared Anderson, our photographer, and Jacob Karaglanis, our photographer, the first two games just have some absolute money shots
Yeah.
when it comes to him. And then same with McNeely. Obviously, game one, a lot more open looks, and this one quieter. But just, I mean, speak to just what your perspective on the sheer number of guys that Louisville has on this roster that can go get you a bucket. And I haven't even mentioned three other that you could bring up in that conversation.
Yeah, what I love about the Louisville fan base is what you just said about Adrian Woolley. We can watch two teams play basketball. Adrian Woolley's on the floor, and there's a reason why he's getting his minutes, right? I mean, like he's quiet in all the good ways. Like he's a Mark Lieberman wet dream, this kid, because he's like he's all over the place. You know what he is on defense and just in offense, just because he's kind of like erratic, but purposefully erratic in like when he's running around on the offense. In defense, like when he's up in guys, like he grabs, he pinches jerseys. There's a difference between like grabbing a jersey and being like obvious with the way you're holding a guy.
Yeah.
You know, you can get
Right. It's just
like
being a little annoying.
yeah, he's
Reminding him
bothersome.
I'm here. I'm here. Like
Yeah,
you feel that little
yeah,
tug on your jersey, I'm here.
yeah. I'm not going away. Not going away. And like if I see that annoys you, it's gonna get a lot worse for you because I'm just gonna do it double time, right? I mean, like I'd love to see a stat of guys that he's on and like what they do in the next few. Like, I mean, there is no metric for that, but I'd love to see like the next couple minutes of a guy once Adrian starts to, like to throw his elbow into your rib when you just want to, want a high post or something like that,
There's two ways in my mind that you can test a basketball player's just ability to handle conflict, physicality, whatever mental back and forth, whatever you want to call it. One is the jersey tug. That was always my go-to, was the jersey tug. And I would be sometimes a little aggressive with it. Sometimes that would be my first foul, and I was okay with it, just to let you know I'm here. I'm not an athletic guy. Like 5'9" on a good day, was always slightly overweight a little bit, but like again, as a point guard, I'm going to let you just remind you I'm here. The second one that I always really, really appreciated from folks was I'm going to put my ass in your lap on either you're going up to get a rebound or when I'm on offense and I want the ball, and I'm just going to see how you respond to that initial pushback. Those right there are your two ways to test somebody's mental fortitude. And Woolley just seems like, and I don't know if he is, but he just seems like the kind of guy that like will absolutely dog you on a play and will just give you that stare down. He doesn't even have to say anything to you. Like, I'm here. Like, and I think you need him in the UK game to just be all over Aberdeen and Lowe and Colin Chandler, all of them, just letting him know, like with that presence you saw in this game, I'm here.
Yeah. When I coached AAU very briefly when my child was younger, we used to run butt drills is what we say. We call it butt drills. And it's because these kids, I'm not even going to get into the reasons that like it might be weird for a child to feel another child's butt on their leg. But like, I'm trying to explain it to them as an adult, like looking them in the eye. I'm like, this is called the butt drill. And what we're going to do is like, Johnny, you're going to put your butt on, little Ethan's thigh right here. And you're going to, and so when so you're going to stand side by side. When the shot goes up, each of your jobs is to use your butt to push them out of the way and get the rebound. If you can't use your arms, you can't use your legs. And like, sorry, but like, these are like, it's just one of those things. Like, these are the things that like scouts look at. These are the things that assistant coaches look at if they're looking at your tape and stuff like that. All the little things that you do, the little things that Adrian Woolley does, to his man. And like, it's just one of those things. Like it's an old school technique that has never died, right? And it's like, as much as the game has evolved, like, we're spending like 4 minutes talking about using your butt, use your ass, put your ass on somebody, right? Put your ass on a grown man, on another college kid. That's just the way it is. And but Adrian Woolley's tape is so fun to watch if you're a basketball fucking dork like me and you are. Like, it's just so fun because you're just like, this dude is, hey, man, watch this dude right here. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of watch.
He's a per 40 star. Like, if you're a stat guy in the NBA, per 40 will tell you in limited minutes, like, are you affecting the game? And I don't know what his plus minuses are for the first two games. I'd love to know that. But I do know we're in a
Right.
day and age, and we've seen it a lot, and I'll talk about another player that's showing this so far this season, and I think it's going to be potentially kind of the next step for him as a player. But you see guys more and more being drafted, and they don't have to play 30 minutes a game, score 20 points a game, right? We see
Mm-hmm.
guys go to the next level because in their 1 or 2 seasons on X, Y, and Z team, their role was X, Y, and Z, and they did that to the best of their ability. And if you're really watching and reading in between the lines and no ball, you see how they impacted a game. And it may not always be in the stat sheet. And that's Adrian Woolley to a T. Now, when you're talking about, and the
Mm-hmm.
last thing really here I want to get into with Jackson State before we transition over to Kentucky, um, uh, is the evolution and growth of Kenai Roots. And when I say the speed at
Yeah.
which we have seen this go from prospect to is he maybe the best player on this team? Like conversation is it's the level of two guys that I remember in recent years. Donovan Mitchell and Terry Rozier. It is that
Mm-hmm.
freshman to sophomore leap that we have seen happen so many times at Louisville. Alan, and I would not at this point, like I know a lot of people said they were excited to see him, but to see him handle the ball, to shoot the ball, to have double doubles, to just take over basketball games. I mean, this is, am I crazy to think this is a first round pick?
I don't think it's crazy at all based on what we've seen in the action that
That's
we've
two
seen.
games, right, against
Right, right.
inferior
But
opponents, right.
it is they are inferior opponents, and he had very limited action against Kansas, 10 minutes. But I want you to go watch if you ever want to commiserate that game again. I did right
Yeah.
after because I was like, what
Yeah.
went wrong? I wanted to know. I'm like, what the fuck. But there was a sequence where he was in there and he literally clamped up the point guard and the center in a matter of like 2 minutes. He clamped up Darren Peterson, like clamped him up. Like it was one of
Yeah.
those. I was like, Pat, and I remember saying under my breath, like, just keep him on him for a minute and see what happens. But of course, Pat was trying to move
Right.
things
Yeah.
around. You know,
You're standing there like a
like,
dad in front of the TV, just like,
yeah, do
what
this,
are we doing here?
yeah, do that again. And it was just like it was a really bad shot, probably the worst shot that Darren Peterson took that game. It was a bad
Yeah.
shot, like a stupid shot, because he had nothing to do, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm not moving like I was a couple minutes ago, a couple seconds ago." And the other one was, and sorry, Jake, I still haven't looked up this dude's name, how to pronounce it, but I think it's Maye or Mbaye.
Oh
Their
yeah, yeah. Paul
freshman center,
Mbaye, I think is how you say that. Yeah,
Maye, yeah.
Kansas. Yeah.
So like he was able to guard him and like clamp him up and made him look a little bit not like completely stupid, but like made him look confused, with the ball. So like
Hmm.
yeah, Kanai, and if you've seen those two pictures side by side, Kanai when he came here and Kanai now, like with his shirt
Yeah.
off. And I know we're getting pretty erotic right now, right? But this is part of that basketball nerd thing. But like I need to see that change, and
Yeah.
like it was insane. I forget who did I send that in to the group chat or somebody sent it to me and then I sent it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was sending it to my cousin too. I sent it to the group chat. I sent it to my cousin. I'm like, dude, look at this kid. Like, tell me that he's not at least built for it. But one more thing about Kanai before I shut up about him is that I hear a lot of people say that they don't know what his role is for the team. I say he is the X factor for the team because there's going to be this game coming up or a few other games, in the future. Louisville's just going to get cold behind the arc, and their bigs are going to get beat up. You need a guy like Kenai Roos, Cason Pryor. I think also is an X factor. Come to think of it, but a guy that can just get in the lane. Uh, does he need to get to the Does he need to get to the line? Does he need to be assertive at the rim? I think Kanai has. I think he just has all the intangibles, and like we see the strength that he's put on. It's like it's a physical difference too. So I think that's what was lacking last year. I think last year you're like you can trust this kid shooting the ball. Yeah, he hit some threes. Sure, that's great. On defense you can trust him. I think this year he's willing to impose himself. I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound hyperbolic, and I'm going to because obviously we know he's 7 foot forward, but there is like
Yeah.
moments in a game where it's again hyperbolic is it's a bit dramatic and oversold, but it feels like this Victor Wembanyama effect where like he is just pinning somebody's shot on the backboard on one end, grabbing the rebound, going coast to coast. and throwing an assist to somebody, or he's getting a rebound and he's going coast to coast and he's pulling up from three, or he's getting the
Yeah.
ball in the corner and he's able to then swing it back around by taking the ball off the dribble and it beating his man. I mean, it's been an
Mm-hmm.
array of moves, and I think if he has a game against Kentucky like what we saw against Jackson State, the 16-10 in this game, and then what in South Carolina State, 19 and sorry, I'm filibustering here trying to find his name. 19-7. If he has a game, either one of those type of stat lines against Kentucky, you're going to see all of these draft accounts. You're going to see the Jonathan Gavonis of the world, the NBA Draft.nets, the CBB expert 324, Truly Donovan. All these accounts are going to start throwing out how this Roots guy has exploded and is now one of the biggest potential X factors in the ACC, in the country, and in the NBA. So, I mean, or excuse me, in college basketball. That's the type of impact I've seen through two games. Now, again, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Very much an overreaction because it's Jackson State and South Carolina State, and neither one of those two teams have a dude or built to guard a guy built like Kenai Ruth. So take it for what it's worth.
Right.
But impressive considering this guy last year was just rim run, play defense, be the 3-and-D proverbially, but we know that you're not really likely going to hit a lot of threes in volume, right? You might hit one here and there, but muck it up, get physical, talk your talk, and damn it, if you get that ball, dunk it on somebody's head. That was what he did last year. This year, it is, I'm going to take you off the dribble, and then I'm going to punch on you with my right hand. Or I'm going to stop because that's what you expect me to do, and I'm going to hit a turnaround fadeaway in mid-range, and you're going to say, I didn't realize you had that in your bag. I'm sorry, Mr. Roots. I didn't see that coming. And that was what it was in this game, man. Now, dribble's a little high. We need to get that thing down from his ear, a little bit lower to his waist at some point. That thing is kind of rocking up here. But he's had dunks maybe 2, 3, and 4 this season, like best dunks of the year. I mean, it's 2 games, but I mean, it's like it's like Montrez trying to dunk at this point. He's just dunking everything.
Right. You love to see it here, especially. There's a couple plays that come to mind. You talk about his ball handling. And, yes, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Kenai Roots this season, hopefully more and more as the games go on. But there was one, I can't remember if it was South Carolina State, but it's where he motioned this way and he crossed the guy over going to the baseline. He was going our right to the baseline. He took a baseline. He crammed on somebody, on the baseline. But, I think that crossover was a little bit slower than people are, acting like it was. So that, I think, in my opinion, as he plays another team that's more physical, that's more athletic, that's going to be able to defend better than that, that might be a cross. You know what I mean? Instead of just a cross and then here I go. I think a lot of basketball players now, when you play, and this is just the 2K effect or whatever it is, NBA Jam, probably the 2K effect, where your guy, you're not going to spend a lot of time these days or going in between on tween cross whatever on 2K. 2K is usually cross, try to get around the guy, and I think a lot of players, I know I can speak for my stepson and some of his friends, when they play 2K, it's just cross and go. I think in real life you try to do that. You try to take how quick is my cross. Sometimes going cross in the speed of a game can, you can use energy doing that. It's a lot like rebounding. Rebounding is one of those mythical, why does this take so much energy away from me to get one rebound? But rebounding is like that.
Right.
Ball handling, critical ball handling, because you have to bend your knees. You have to, it's concentration, it's hand-eye coordination. It just exhausts energy. So I would like to see it. Not that he doesn't have it. I know this kid's in freaking shape now, like we were talking about a second ago. But those are the only things. Those are my nitpicky things. But I think we're going to be talking about him a lot more.
Yeah,
plus, he's going to be guarding, he's going to be on Colin Chandler. I'm trying to think of who. They could stick him on Colin Chandler, probably Jasper a little bit. They might throw him down with Diabate a little bit. I mean, it's going to be nuts in the Kentucky game. Not to speed that up, but I'm just thinking out loud.
That's where we're at. That's where the chat is going. I think it's a perfect time to go ahead, reset the show here. We've got quite a bit of folks watching on YouTube, folks on Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in. Starting 502 Podcast, Jacob Lane, Alan Thomas. Make sure you follow us on Twitter right here below. It's hard to kind of, here we go, right here. This is it right here. There's mine. Yours went away.
Where's it for me?
It
It's
went
me.
away. No, other side.
Oh, okay.
But I
Oh,
typed your Twitter handle in earlier. There you go, and it went away. But you can find him at card_in_al on Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in. If you missed it earlier, we did announce we will be live Tuesday for pregame at Goodwood at Whiskey Row with our friends from Surfside.
yeah.
For State of Louisville Live, myself and Presley Meyer will be out there for pregame, and then we will have postgame for you right after the game virtually here from the Kearns Corner Digital Studio with, as of right now, I believe, Alan, that'll be you and Jay Cook, maybe Roman Kelly. We'll see if where in the world is Roman Kelly these days. You know, he's just everywhere. That's where he is. We'll see. But
He's
excited for
busy.
that. And then we also announced that we will be expanding our coverage here to live pregame and post games for most games throughout the rest of the season with an expanded team on this Starting 502 podcast from State of Louisville Live. Myself, Alan Thomas, Presley Meyer, Dalton Pence, Roman Kelly, Matt Childress, and the one and only Reese Gaines. We will alternate schedules will be all over the place. You'll see a bunch of different faces, but just know we've got you covered pregame, postgame here on Starting 502. Let's talk UK, man. It's here. It's early.
Let's do it.
You got the schedule you got the health you got. Both teams trying to figure it out, trying to work back guys into the lineup. And this is going to be a big one for both teams, likely a top 10 battle. Certainly in prime time, not much else going on a Tuesday night. Hopefully by this point, YouTube TV has resolved all of their issues with Disney and that the viewership opportunity is expanded. But this is a game between two undefeated teams that are completely different rosters than what they were a year ago, but have some mainstay themes back with either expanded roles or in similar roles to what they were last year. Now, I haven't gotten to watch every single minute of this UK team, but what I have watched, I certainly have seen a team that's similar in nature to this U of L team. A lot of guys, particularly a lot of guards, a lot of guys that are capable of scoring the basketball, positional versatility with Diabate, as you mentioned, with guys like Colin Chandler and Trent Noah, and certainly some youth with Jasper Johnson and Malachi Moreno, a foreign flavor as well. I mean, these teams really are kind of built with similar structure, but both teams have faced mid-major to low-major talent. Both teams have really had their ways. For Kentucky in game one against Nichols, it was a little bit of a different challenge, 28-15 at half. They outscored them 49-36 in the second half, so they win handily, but still it's kind of this first game rust, try to knock it off and figure out who you are. Obviously missing Jalen Lowe in that game. Trent Noah goes out with injury, so you're trying to kind of figure things out on the fly. And then maybe in the Valparaiso game is more of what we might see from this Kentucky game. I mean, when you have so much youth transfers, it's hard to know game to game, but they beat Valpo 107-59. They get Jalen Lowe back, who plays 18 minutes in that game in his first game of the season. But they get a lot of three-point shooting from Colin Chandler and from Jasper Johnson. You see a double-double from Malachi Moreno. I mentioned him earlier. We'll talk more about him. You see the physicality and brute of Brandon Garrison and Mohamed Diabate. So, I mean, there's a lot to look at these two games. And so as we head into the matchup with Louisville, Kentucky, what is the number one thing that Alan Thomas is watching for in this basketball game?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot to unpack about the matchups that we're going to be seeing. I mean, obviously, there's not a whole lot to take from, you play number 300 in KenPom or whatever it is, or number 300 ranked or whatever. Each of us played a 260-something team that's ranked. So it's hard to take away from teams that struggle offensively against you, or teams that are just flying off the handle. I think Jackson State did a good job of flying off the handle for what they had. I think that game could have been a serious, like a Valparaiso or a South Carolina State in Louisville blowout. I think Jackson State was able to rope that in just a little bit. But I think the number one thing that I'm looking out for, and I think most of the fan base, if we're going to talk about matchups, we can talk about guards. That's fine. But I'm a dork, and so I'm not going to live in the popular, because I think those are conversations I'm going to hear all week. And things that I'm going to absorb anyway. Not that I'll get sick of them, obviously. Like, I love sports radio. I'll listen at work. I call coworkers, cousins, while I listen at the water cooler. But the number one thing for me is going to be the battle down low. and I don't think it's necessarily going to happen down low. For the most part, I don't think it's going to be two bruisers down there slugging it out. I just wonder what kind of experience can Fru's experience, can Zugras's experience overseas playing that kind of free flowing ball. Can that will that be able to confuse Malachi Moreno or some guys that are newer to like that didn't score that much on their team last year, that are newer to Pope's system? Like Diabate, I think averaged just a couple points a game. Not that that's nothing to sniff at. It's still D1, and you're on a great team, so that's why he didn't play so much. Brandon Garrison, can he match? I don't think Brandon Garrison can match the physicality of Vangelis Zugris. Is this where Zugris comes out of his shell? Is this where we see the animal that we've been reading about and hearing about all off season comes out? I think this would be the perfect game for him.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, or like, what about Case and Pryor? Like, I mean, all these personalities that we have, I don't know if, not to say that I know how the Kentucky players are and what they think and how they feel about this and that and the other, but I don't know if they can, if like Fru seems stoic, Zugris seems like he's about to explode. I think Pryor has that swagger that you're looking for, and I think Case and Pryor is physically a mismatch for a big man trying to guard him. So like, I'm not trying to puff my chest out. That's what I'm gonna be looking for is I am really hopeful and wishful, all those words, that Louisville comes with the emotional fire and like stands on business, like out the gate, down low from their bigs that I'm hoping. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm right there with you, man. I think that would be the number one thing that I'm also really most tuned into is just the play down low. And I mentioned, Sonny Fru earlier, and, we're going to find out certainly in this game what type of big man he is. Does he shy away from a physical game in which you take advantage of getting under players' skin? Is this a game where you have to turn to Zugris to play 20 minutes because you truly just need that level of brute? I think a lot of that is going to be dictated by the pace of this game, whether or not you go from Fru, who can play more of that up tempo, switch, pick and roll to the basket, versus Zugris, who I think you can count on for 5 really, really good fouls, and to come in and be your enforcer and spot up minutes. But this game does slow down into more of a half court offensive game, which is something that a lot of folks are really talking about. We'll get into that here in a second. I do think that Zugris really comes into play. But when you look at the front courts of both of these groups, like, it is very versatile. They don't have any two players that are the same. You have a Garrison who's more of a physical big man who's going to rebound. He may occasionally get the ball with his back to the basket, but he's there to bring the brute, bring the physicality, to be that anchor of both sides of the floor. Whereas Diabate, he can play that 3-4. He can have the ball in his hands. He can bring the ball up the floor, but he can also stretch the floor in some ways. But he still can bruise it up down low. You can still throw him the ball, count on him to offensive rebound, go down there and provide you with a couple of extra possessions. You've got the another foreign guy from for UK whose name Yelovich, I'm gonna go with. That's my guess. I'm not great with names. That's people who watch any of our shows know that's never a strength of mine. We're going to go with Yelovich, though. But he's another kind of stretch big who can do different things. Then you have Moreno, who, in my opinion, for UK, and really in this game, like, is one of the most underrated matchups, is Malachi Moreno versus Sonny Fru, in terms of not maybe one-on-one against each other. You mentioned it earlier. Who can sneak under the basket without the offense knowing that they're sneaky as a mouse and catch a layup and a dunk or an alley-oop? They're both dunkers at heart. Both of them are really right now. Their involvement in this offense is just rolling to the rim and scoring inside. That's really it. Maybe some free throws. So you have Fru and you have Moreno. So it's a very intriguing front court battle. To switch it up, though, I mean, I would just say that for me, the biggest thing in this game is truly just the atmosphere and the element of getting that proverbial monkey off of your back. And this could probably be the main storyline every year. And I don't know if it's the talent makeup of these teams, if it's the fact that this isn't the UK that we've seen historically with 7 5-star freshmen. I don't know what it is, but there's a sense of this is the time. Pat Kelsey's really checked all the boxes outside of a tournament win, but beating big opponents, going on the road, going into the ACC tournament and getting you to the ACC championship game. All these things, right? He's kind of slowly, surely checked the box. This feels like the one to really get the season going, like to set the tone of we are truly here. We're not dodging smoke. We're not just hype. We're not basketball on paper. We are here to be a top 5, top 10 team, and we can play with anybody in the country. I think that that's the storyline here. And whether or not Louisville plays up to that or they run away from it. Historically, man, it feels like they've run away from it. It feels like every single year this game comes on, oddly enough, like a women's lacrosse game or a rodeo goes long on CBS, and we don't get into the game until there's like 16 minutes left and Louisville's already down 12-2. They're 0 for 6 from the three-point line. They've turned the ball over 3 times.
Yes.
Like that seems like it's every year. This is the year where you have to come out and put your foot on the gas to begin the game and to truly like show who you are. And I think, Alan, for me, the biggest thing is not the play on the team. It's not the X's and O's. It's truly enough Pat Kelsey having a sense of, just like everything else, of owning this and making sure that the messaging to his team is right, to make sure that it's not too big, but also, oddly enough, finding this hoorah and this sense of motivation and this sense of reclaiming what is yours of Louisville basketball. Like you have to toe this very fine line, and even the best of the best have struggled with that. Rick Pitino being the example. I just feel like Pat is going to figure that equation out of how to get the best while not putting too much on this game being like the game of the season.
Yeah, and like I think the message from Pat Kelsey is probably just going to be play our game out the gate. Like, don't treat it like anything. Like you know how he does when he gets into his like. Don't make me do the Pat Kelsey impression that I did one time on the podcast, right? Where he's just like, the very next play we're worried about. Like he's just worried about the next thing. We're going to be just perfect.
I know Eric doesn't like it when I say the next thing, but we're truly about the next. You got to push your glass at the next thing.
Yeah. He always like the glasses that clearly don't fit him. Either that or he's got a tick. He has like ticks or something.
Right.
But like my thing is like from the fans, like I'm not worried about how he's going to message, because one thing about this guy is like every time he calls a timeout, we get a bucket. So that's like his shooting for that, or not his I guess percentage, like conversion percentage for that is probably 80% or above. At least in the past, like in the 4 games that we've seen, whether they've counted or not this year, like he's just an ace. So I'm not worried about how he's coaching. I'm not worried about the messaging. Honestly, I'm not worried about our players like having it in them to come ready. One of the things that I have kind of like penciled in that I'm really focused on seeing is I want to know who's going to be, and it's not going to be just like one guy and a bunch of dudes, right? That's not how we roll, and that's not how this team's going to roll this year. There's so much talent. But I want to know who's going to get going early, who's going to take the initiative. Like, taking that first shot in the Kentucky game is nerve-wracking. I don't care if you know about the rivalry, if you're from here, like, because for us, like, you don't even know like how much rides on, like if they kick it over to Adrian Woolley in the corner or Ryan Conwell and that 3 goes up, if that 3 doesn't make, I'm like, if that 3 doesn't drop, I'm like, we're going to lose by 30. It is what it is. I'm just pack it up,
And the other thing with Kelsey that I think is worth bringing up here is like this game is now magnified by 10 billion. It may not be today, but Pat Kelsey tomorrow, Monday, Mark Pope tomorrow, Monday, speak to the media. We really start to kick this game off, if you will, and get going. But Louisville losing this game against Cal on Saturday, the football game, and kind of taking the wins out of the sale of a national championship, college football playoff, ACC title, maybe still on the table, but very, very unlikely. Now this is what we have. Like, football's still going, and we want to support them. We want to get out there for Clemson Friday night, but now this is it, Alan. Like, all of the major attention can go to this thing for the fans, and it's a blessing and a curse. The energy. I'm so excited to be in this game and cover this game. It's the first time I've ever covered a UK game, and not been there as a fan. I can't go in public for this day ever. Like, it's very against my will to go in public for this game. But I want to feel the energy of that first bucket. I want to feel just
Mm-hmm.
how Louisville fans are anticipating this game. And I feel like it's going to be the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows in this. But I think moving into X factors, moving into players to watch, moving into rosters and all of that, I think that this team is just
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
built to handle the ups and downs of this. They've learned from losing the Creighton game last year. Obviously, in this instance, they lost to Kentucky last year. They had a lot of games that they blew leads, or that they let the moment slip away. I could go on a number of tangents from last year that they got their ass kicked against Ole
Yeah.
Miss and Tennessee, right? Like, we experienced it all. But
Yeah.
Javon Hadley and Kason Pryor are probably the heartbeat of this team, right? Just the leaders, the voices. And I think that those guys are going to give Louisville and Pat Kelsey what they need to make sure that they're level headed and they withstand what is the emotions of a rivalry game, especially this early in the season as you're trying to find yourself. Let me ask you this. Who is the better
Mm-hmm.
roster? I think I saw that in here. I want to get into a who does here, or who's better. Let me get back to this real quick because,
Yeah.
uh,
I'd like to get
man,
into
the comments
anything
are
on
going
Twitter.
wild
I don't
here.
know if anybody's good. I don't know if anybody said anything on Twitter too, but I did put that out, and I think a couple people did comment, just wanting like things that were like picking their brain that were on their mind they wanted to hear about. Um, but yeah, would you say better roster? I think I said this preseason. Preseason, I was kind of like fingers in the air. I was like, "We do, fuck you." You know what I mean? Of
Yeah,
course we do.
right.
Now that I've seen, I watched Kentucky. I watched Kentucky bully Purdue, and so this is going to be a loaded question, and I don't want it to be a non-answer answer. So I'll give you an answer at the end. But I would
Okay.
say like down low from what I've seen, and this goes back to the one thing that I'll be watching. The reason that I'm watching is because I'm worried about our big guys stepping up and not being bullied, because I can totally see a scenario where they do get bullied. And by bullied, I don't mean like dunked on every time. I mean like, jockeying for position. I mean like Sananda Frew, when a guy dumps it down to you, when you actually do post up, you're trying to seal your man. Do you throw the forearm? Do you put your butt on the guy? Like, or
Yeah.
is he able to, like, I mean, is he able to get around you? Do you have a solid position? Do you have good center of gravity? Things like that. Like, or because if not, it's going to look like you're just tired and they're in better shape than you. But I think our guards are superior. I think our forwards are like, dude, Kanai Roos. I'm just saying. I'm not saying like nobody can guard him, right? But
Mhm.
what I'm saying is you're going to be hard pressed to figure out how to contain him. He's coming off of 2 games where I think it was like 20, and then what was the Jackson State that he had? But his big game was South Carolina State. So he's starting. That might have been his coming out party, right? This is the third straight game where like he's feeling himself now. Basketball is a game of confidence. Kids ripped as all hell, feeling himself out there. I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to contain him. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to go off for 30. I'm just saying like he's probably going to be able to move the floor the way he wants to. I think our backcourt is not head and shoulders better than Kentucky, but I think they're quicker, more athletic. I don't think anybody can stay in front of Michael Brown. I don't think Jalen Lowe can stay in front of Michael Brown,
I
especially.
don't think so either.
So, yeah. So I mean, like, put top to bottom roster wise, I think Louisville still has the edge. I think they do.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there. I think Louisville's got the better roster, just top to bottom. I think that there's certainly pockets where UK's got better pieces. I mean, I think just a guy like Malachi Moreno, his size, I don't know where his season is going to go, what his role is going to be, but man, he has certainly got
Yeah.
the talent and the size to be, a top 5 center in the country. Then you've got great shooting with Jasper Johnson, Colin Chandler, but there's no Michael Brown Jr. There's no Brian Conwell on their
No.
team. I think
Yeah.
you got some solid pieces in Aberdeen and Otega Awe, but I think they're more role players versus the star pieces being Conwell, Brown, and then of course we've seen it with really strong role players being able to step up at will if need be with McNeely and Ruths and
Yeah.
Woolley, and I think top to bottom Louisville has them defensively. I think Louisville's better. I think Louisville is top to bottom a
Yes.
better, more athletic team. I think they have better switchability. I think they have more size, speed, athleticism. I think that there are more pockets of weakness that you can attack in UK's defense than what I've seen in U of L's. But I certainly don't think U of L's defense is flawless. I think you mark my words now. They're Louisville. 100% needs to be prepared for UK testing the physicality of Mikael Brown Jr. with grown men like Owe and
Yeah.
Aberdeen. I think they're going to go right at him and make him really prove that he is, you know, able to play at that level, and we'll see how he responds. Again, like we talked about earlier, how do you feel when you're getting your jersey nipped at and when you're the one who, they're throwing an extra elbow in your ribs when no one's looking? That's certainly a battle for a freshman. How do you think Brown's defense has looked just overall, top to bottom, from what we've seen, against the two teams they've played?
Right. I think he's going to get stronger as the season goes. I think on tape over the summer, if you ask me this, I'd be like, ooh, very concerning, just because he looked a little, high school ball is a lot different. AAU ball is different than high school ball, but like all of that is a different concept than Division I college basketball. These coaches in Division I are not interested in you dropping 35 points and getting all the highlight reels, right? We want to see when we go back and watch film after practice, after a game, and you're a step too slow or you look lazy, you could have got there. I'm going to stop in front of the whole team and point that out to you. I don't care if you're 18. I think he's 19, actually. I don't care if you're 19 years old and you're this baby-faced kid that's supposed to go to the first round next year and make all this money, right? Like, not that Pat Kelsey's going to embarrass a kid, but like we're gonna get to the forefront of the issue of like, why are we missing? Okay, we can't have that. Like, we're gonna move as a unit, right? That's our whole message. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you see? I mean, like from what you've seen, the little clips of Brown, some of the guys he's had to guard are more athletic, not more athletic than him, but more athletic than people give their teams credit for, namely Jackson State.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't see every possession of the Jackson State game, so of course, what's out there on YouTube looks pretty favorable throughout. Vince in the chat room, why does the cat only make noise? He did. You missed it, Vince. The cat was very active just a few minutes ago, but I told him if he continues it's Wildcat Week, and I will make him a Wildcat, aka I will open the door and kick his ass right out. So he stopped meowing pretty quickly, Vince, because he knows he's got a good life. But when you're talking about Brown, I haven't seen anything that would indicate that he's not good at defense, right? Like a lot of the times freshmen come in and you're like, all right, that guy literally cannot guard. He's lost. I mean, I could go through a number of Louisville freshmen that we've seen that be the case of why they don't play. Brown Jr. obviously is above that, but I do think that, again, in sample size, when I look at the guards and when I look at likely who Brown was guarding, I do see, some ability for him to kind of struggle in one-on-one matchups, or they're screening heavy or really attacking him, making him read a defense or read an offense. I do think that at his age, he's going to struggle with that. And I think in this game, Jalen Lowe, Ortega, and Aberdeen are older guards, and I think that they're going to try to, and Mark Pope is going to try to confuse him, to run him off screens, make him fight through, really test his physicality. But I do think that, he's got to be out there on the floor, and I think that he's going to play well. But one thing I will say is the X factor at the guard position may be Kobe Rogers. The numbers don't necessarily pop out at you through two games in terms of like dominating a game or taking over, but Kobe Rogers has been all over the place. Was second in assists against Jackson State with 5. I believe he had 3 against South Carolina State. He's also rebounded fairly well, 4 against Jackson State, 3 against Jackson State, and 4 against South Carolina State. So he is a guy that if they do struggle and if Pat Kelsey senses that Mikael needs to slow down, trying to force turnovers, trying to force his hand, you can steady the ship with Kobe Rogers. And I think that will matter at times. I do think that is going to be the thing that potentially kind of gets Mikael in trouble early, is just trying to do too much. But I will say one of the things that was really encouraging about the Jackson State game was that if you watch that, he took that game as it came. And I really think the first 2 games, he's been natural at just feeling when to go, of when to take over. He had 15 points in the second half. He only had 3 points in the first half against Jackson State. I saw a tweet that was like, look at this, your freshman only has 3 points and 4 assists. And it's like, okay, all right, buddy. Clearly you're not watching. You're looking at the stat sheet, watch the game, then boom. I was also watching the stat sheet, but I was watching the game in the stat sheet. Okay, damn it. Then he takes over and he gets his shots, and he's still, and it's not, I'm getting my shots and I'm done passing. it's this natural ability of the greats and the best of the best to stay within your own offense and be able to know when to get your shot versus when to pass for someone else. And that is what Mikael Brown Jr. has been so special at so far. 18 points, 9 assists against Jackson State. You just don't see that. We've not seen a lot of freshmen or sophomore point guards in Louisville come in and stack up assists. They've either only done that and not scored, or they've only scored and they can't pass the ball for shit.
Yeah, it's like, well, why don't you go ahead? Okay, your point guard has 0 points and 3 rebounds and 4 assists. That's all he has. Why don't you go ahead and compliment him a little bit more? He's a point guard that has 4 assists before he's even tried to – well, not that he's tried to score, but before he's been successful scoring. You see that that's kind of a trend with this whole team a little bit. If I remember correctly, Isaac Brown, good Lord. That's somebody we missed yesterday. Isaac McNeely. Isaac McNeely, when he had 8. The game he had 18. When he went off, he had 18 or 20 or something like that.
Yeah, that was last game.
Fun. Right. Fun facts: before he hit his first 3, he had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, or it was 3 rebounds, 4 assists before he hit his first 3. In the same game, I believe Kobe Rogers had no points. This is back to Kobe too. Because I'm talking about the philosophy of Pat Kelsey. Before he even scored a point, he had 3 and 3, right? I mean, these are guys that are not just out there. I mean, the unselfishness, we're not crazy. It's not that this team is I feel like is one of the most unselfish teams in the country, and the power of the unit is not bullshit, right? Right. It's these guys go out there and it's okay, what can I do? Okay, it's not my time right now. It may not be my night, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get in where I fit in. Love it.
You're never going to worry about this team and their ability to, for the most part. Maybe we will see it this year, but you don't. So far, it feels like you don't have to. If their shot's not falling, you don't have to worry about them getting back on defense. They're just natural into the game, and if it's defense that it takes to win, okay, we're going to figure that out in real time, and we're going to play defense. If it's offense, okay, Mikael, hit the gas. If it's whatever the case is, and I think there's a lot of things that would really encourage you that between Conwell and between McNeely and between Brown, that those 3 guys are being extremely unselfish. They know when to make the extra pass, when to take that 3. And then, between there, it's just being able to stay at the level of physicality that Ortega plays with, that you're going to see Aberdeen, who is going to try to get downhill. He's going to take a lot of 3s, right? You just got to stay able to close out and stay consistent. When you look at the rest of the rosters here and you look at, I mentioned X Factor, I think that in this game, for me, again, it's going to come down to can Louisville's front court withstand the punch? And I'm not really sure what the tempo will be in this game. I don't know. I would think that they're going to play fast because both of these teams do just go. They have athletes. They get the rebound and they go. But I also think there's an element for UK where they want to slow this down, where they really want to get the ball inside, muck it up, take 30 seconds off or 20 seconds off the shot clock, and then lean on Lowe or lean on Aberdeen or Ortega away to go get a bucket or to kick it out and find a Colin Chandler open for 3. But in watching their games, I tend to think that UK just naturally is not going to be able to help themselves and to play fast in this game. I think they're going to want to get rebounds and go and out athlete. And I think that Louisville's not going to fall victim to being out athlete in this game. I think that Louisville is going to be able to, whether it is a slow down version where they have to play in the front court, where I do think Louisville would struggle a little bit more. I just think that Louisville has just got too many good shooters to either play fast or to play in the front court. Either way you slice it, I just don't see a situation unless Louisville is just completely out of whack defensively and they're not closing out, they're not switching, or Brandon Garrison, Yelovich, and Diabate just spook our front court, Louisville's front court of Frew, and I don't think that's going to happen. That's the only way I see this game being a challenge. It really is. I mean, am I crazy in that? I just think Louisville's got much better players and a much better system, and not having to work in their leading guard, which I think is Jalen Lowe will be on this team. I just think that every box is checked by Louisville, top to bottom almost, outside of the question of physicality. That's the only question I have on this team, Alan. That's the only thing I think that will limit Louisville.
Yeah, and I think Pat Kelsey I bet he misses James Scott on a level just because of like he could probably whisper to something to James and be like, okay, we're doing this now. Like, hey, like there's so much history with those two. But one thing that was lacking with James Scott last year, and this is the thing that worries me about Frew, which is funny because preseason we compared Frew to James Scott just a little bit more of it's like a European James Scott, basically like European style, Euro style James Scott is what Frew is. He's just a little bit. Not that he's scared or anything. He's just a little bit soft around the rim when he doesn't have the ball. I just think that UK's physicality. Sure, they're going to test that. I think I talked about that a minute ago. Like that's one of the things I'm worried about the most. And one of the things I'm going to be looking for. But I don't think Kentucky's. Like I said, man, I don't think that their bigs. The attitude, the presence, I don't think they can match it. If you really go down the line, you can include Javon Hadley in that group. Right? If you need Javon Hadley to be our enforcer, damn it, he can be. Like, he can do that. We watched him do it last week. He put the teams on Louisville on his shoulders last year a few times down the stretch. Javon Hadley's is more of a quiet, like, daddy's here kind of presence. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not going to laugh in your face. He's not going to, pump his whatever when he gets – he's there. He's going to bother you. He's going to flush it when he needs to. He's kind of a point forward when he needs to be. But yeah, that's the thing that I'm hoping for. I'm really like, it is wishful thinking the more I talk about it. I really hope that happens. But if there's a test from Kentucky, like you said, I think it'll be testing the guards because like they want to break them down. And I don't think Mark Pope can help himself but to go fast. I think he's a UK guy, played for Patino. He always talks about this is Kentucky. He's not going to change his philosophy for anybody. I think they're going to try to run and gun with this. I think it's going to be a great game, man. And I think like anybody that loves basketball, especially if you love college basketball, like I hate Kentucky and Kentucky fans fucking annoy me to no end. But if you love college basketball, I don't care who you root for, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be so fun.
College basketball needs this game to be back. They need Louisville and Kentucky to be premier programs nationally with relevance. They need on a Tuesday night to, albeit the freaking YouTube TV is the one limiting everyone, but they need the viewers at the table, not just in Kentucky, but across the country because two powerhouse programs are playing each other. And in this one, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a good game. I think overall what will prevail in this one will be I think just this is going to sound like it's really easy, but I think it's just going to come down to if Louisville's shots are falling from the three-point line, they'll win this game. I think it's going to be at least a 3 to 5 point game. I think the line came out earlier at 3.5. Louisville was favorites. Were favorites over UK. I think that feels about right. I think as long as Louisville is able to hit shots consistently and they don't have one of those 2 for 21 games, I think they should be able to win this game. I do fear for the Colin Chandler pop-off game. I think that is very much on the table right now. It happens every year. Kentucky has a guy that
White dude.
Hot, but maybe this year will be the first effect because he has been hot through the first 2 games. Him and Jasper Johnson, UK's 2 primary three-point shooters. Maybe this game that won't happen, and maybe instead it will be the Cason Pryor game, or it will be. I'm trying to think for Louisville.
I love that so much.
The Adrian Woolley game, like one of the games where a guy you just don't have on the table being the guy that pops off. Maybe that's what we need for this game to go back in Louisville's favor is for that game in the game to come back to our side and for somebody you're not expecting on the Louisville side to absolutely pop off. I do think it'll be interesting to see, does Kentucky have Trent Noah back? I think that will give them obviously a bit more shooting. That will give them a bit more size to stretch the floor, which, again, if Kentucky can switch and really use an offense that predicates on physicality, can they find situations where Louisville is slow to close out and take advantage of that with Chandler, Noah, etc. And then for Louisville, and I'll ask you this, that's one of the last questions, and then we'll move into predictions. What is your role for Cason Pryor in this game? Do you move him into the starting lineup? Do you keep the Hadley lineup or Roots and bring Pryor off the bench in a 15-20 minute physicality role? How do you see Pat Kelsey really getting Cason Pryor into this game?
Honestly, no, not. I don't have him starting. I don't have the starting lineup changed at all. To answer Willie Clarkson from Twitter, to answer his question, I don't have this. I have the same starting lineup, and I think Pat is pretty, steadfast with what he likes to do.
Which
I think Cason came in at the
real quick. Which starting lineup? Is that Javon Hadley at the 4 or Kenai Roots at the 4?
It's It's good play because Javon was hurt. It's Javon because
Okay.
I think, like I said a second ago, I mean, first of all, not just because he's an enforcer and you might need, backup in there. Not saying Frew needs backup, but like I'm not even calling Frew soft. I'm just saying, like the Kansas game worried me. That's what I'm saying. Like that really worried me when you get into power conference play.
Yeah.
But no, Javon Hadley has to start in my opinion. You being insane, man. Honestly, he makes the whole thing go for the most part. Like I feel so comfortable when he's out there. Like there's something in me that kind of like rests. There's a part of my brain that rests a little bit when he's out there. But like, yeah, I think the perfect balance is like it has been Michael, Conwell, Isaac, and Javon and Frew to round it out. And if you need, honestly, like it wouldn't hurt my feelings in the least if Frew was getting pushed around. Like one of my fears is that he might get pushed around and tested, like you said, out the gate. I wouldn't be. It wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if he can't stay in front of Diabate or Garrison. If he racks up 2 quick ones or even 1 quick one, that's stupid. Just because he looks like he's beat on the step. Bring in Case and Pryor and just have like a couple forwards out there with those 3 shooters. And I mean, then everybody can shoot if they want to. That's another thing about Javon Hadley that is kind of an X factor altogether is he can shoot.
He can.
Did I answer your question? I have no idea.
You did. No, you did. You said you go with the same starting lineup. And I think Hadley, we saw what he did against Clemson, the 30-point game last year. He can certainly take over a game if you give him the right matchup. If they come out and they put Colin Chandler on Javon Hadley, let him feast. Put the ball in his hands. Let him do what he did last year where he backed down the guard and go to work. You have so much versatility. And we haven't even mentioned, we talked sparingly about Adrian Woolley and Case and Pryor and Zugris, but we haven't even talked about Ali Khalifa, really, Kobe Rogers. We could go on and on about this roster. There's so many guys in this game who could impact things, even just for a few moments. Let's go into predictions. We'll start with this one. My stone cold guarantee it will happen. Sharpie, write it down now. Brandon Garrison and Vangelis Zugris will have a kerfuffle in this game. That is my stone cold. Lock it in. And if you're looking for a second candidate that's not Zugris, I would go with I would be torn between Pryor and Kenai Roots because we did have the beef last year with Garrison, Roots, and all that on the sidelines. But stone cold guarantee of this game is that Zugris does not take too fondly to Brandon Garrison's shenanigans. Do you have a stone cold guarantee for this game, Alan? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
No, you're good. By the way, my AirPods are like going. They're like getting close to dying. I'm just putting that out there. I know we're I don't even
we're
know.
Down to just this one.
So it just told me that I'm down to this one. So my stone cold is and it's funny that we both talk about like getting chippy because my stone cold was like if you had a 1.5 or more technicals in this game, like honestly, I think it's going to be over, and I think Louisville might get. I think Louisville, if it's 2 or more, like I think it's going to be, I think over 1.5, I take that. I think Louisville gets at least 2. That's just me. I think not that we're not disciplined, but I just think that our emotions are going to be running high. I don't even know if it'll be Pat Kelsey down the stretch. Something just tells me that that's going to pop up on Twitter and everybody's going to be like, oh, I think Louisville, Kentucky is going to be a story Tuesday night. I think something's going to happen. Not crazy, but I think everybody's just going to be like, oh, the rivalry's back. Yeah, like John Fanta or something is going to do one of those selfie things where he's like, this is college basketball. Like, isn't this great? Which is so good. He's such an old-timey looking dude. I love when he talks about that. Like, he makes me so happy that college basketball exists. Like, he's so good for the game, right? I love that dude.
Oh, my God. All right. Top 3
he's so
things
wholesome
Top 3 things to make John Fanta make a video. 1, Mark Pope puts Pat Kelsey in a headlock. 2, we have a brawl of some kind on the floor. In 3, we have like a triple or quadruple overtime. Those are my 3 candidates for John Fanta making a first-person shooter video. Moving into predictions for the game, I'm going to save mine for the show out at Goodwood on Tuesday. But Alan, please, the floor is yours. Louisville versus Kentucky. Give me your prediction for Tuesday night.
Are we talking score predictions? Can you hear me? This thing.
Yes, I can hear you. No, you're good. Score predictions, and then we'll get out of here, my friend.
All right, score predictions. So I was 2 for 2 on Louisville score predictions. The first, I didn't do the Bucknell game, but I did the Kansas game and the Sacramento, South Carolina State game. So, and then this last one, kind of got away from me on both sides. But I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Like, do you remember? Like, so I'll say this and I'll shut up and I'll just give my prediction. But I've said a few times on this podcast that I think this Louisville team reminds me of the Alabama 2022-23 team. Notably, that went very far in the tournament.
Yeah.
Notably, that put a lot of points up. And I like Pope teams are known to put up points. I think this team obviously is going to be one of those. I don't think Kentucky wants to slow down. I don't think Pat Kelsey wants to slow down. I really think this is going to be a game for the ages. It's like I'm trying so hard to contain my emotion about it and just say, yeah, we'll see. But I'm gonna go 88-85 Louisville. W. Actually, hang on. I can't do that. I can't do that because I whispered to somebody. I said this feels like a double-digit win. So I'm gonna stick to my guns. 88-78.
Okay, there we go. 88-78. We got some predictions here coming in from the chat. 87-81. We got some UK fans in here.
Okay.
Man, their fart jokes are not great. We need to work on those. Louisville Fartnals. That's an old one. We need to upgrade on that. Here we go. Stone Cold Lock. I predict a good time at Goodwood before the game. That's facts. Get out to Goodwood on Tuesday night, 6 o'clock. We will be live before UK U of L on Whiskey Row. Again, I told you I'll save my prediction for the show on Tuesday night. My X factor, as I mentioned, I think it's going to come down to the physicality level of this game for the bigs, particularly. Can Sonny Frew, can Vangelis Zugris, can those guys meld their ways together of physicality, finesse to be able to deal with some of the versatility, some of the size, and then, of course, the length and just athleticism of a guy like Malachi Moreno. So we will see. As I mentioned, get out to the game Tuesday night at the KFC Yum Center. We will be at Goodwood on Whiskey Row. Myself, Presley Meyer, producer Vince Lococo, Mr. Football will be out there producing a basketball show. We are so excited to be with our friends from Surfside. Drop in, say hello, watch, have a Surfside before you go over to the arena, and then post game as you get into your car and as you're waiting for everything to wrap up, join us here in the Kearns Corner Digital Studio for the recap show live with Alan Thomas, Jay Cook, and Roman Kelly. And I guess that will do it here. Thank you all who tuned in. We had in true fashion, a late arriving crowd from the Louisville side, but a ton of great conversation, a ton of great engagement from the comments. Thank you all for contributing. Even you UK fans, Republicans buy Jordans, UK fans engage on the internet. We welcome it all. So thank you all for tuning in. And as I mentioned, we will be out Tuesday night. Getting ready for the game. Don't miss tomorrow night, the football side of things. Unfortunately, recapping that tough loss, but brighter days ahead. Friday night, Clemson. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Lane, Alan Thomas, starting 502 Podcast, State of Louisville Podcast Network.